The voice at the door. The knocking came again. Knock. 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 Then my mother's voice returned. Ryan, it's okay. You can come home now. Every memory I had buried came rushing back. The sound of her laugh, the way she said my name, it was perfect, too perfect. Samuel grabbed my shoulder before I could move. Don't answer. It learns from your memories. It knows exactly who you'll trust. I closed my eyes, but the voice kept calling me, over and over. The bell tower. Without warning, the church bell rang once, a single, deep, earth-shaking ring. Then the staircase leading to the bell tower creaked open by itself. I was certain it had been locked before. A cold wind drifted down from above. Samuel stared at the tower. His face lost all color. No. It found another way. Before I could ask what he meant, heavy footsteps echoed above us. Someone was walking around the bell, slow, measured, patient. The ropes were moving. We climbed the narrow staircase together. Each wooden step groaned beneath our weight. The air grew colder with every floor. When we reached the bell chamber, I froze. The massive bell hung completely still, but the thick rope beneath it was swinging by itself, back and forth, back and forth. No one was pulling it. Yet the bell had just rung. Samuel whispered, "Don't touch the rope." The moment he finished speaking, the rope stopped moving. Then, very slowly, it began twisting into a shape, like something invisible was wrapping its hand around it. The face in the bell. My flashlight swept across the old bronze bell. At first, I saw nothing unusual. Then, a face slowly appeared in the metal. Not reflected, embedded. Its eyes were closed. Its mouth was stitched shut. Cracks spread across the bronze surface, like skin beginning to tear. Then, the eyes opened. They looked directly at me. The stitched mouth stretched wider until the threads snapped. The face whispered only 3 words. "Look below you." I slowly lowered my flashlight. The wooden floor beneath my feet was covered with fresh footprints. They hadn't been there a second earlier. Every single footprint led to where I was standing, but none of them led away. The shadow above, I slowly looked up. Above the massive church bell, a narrow wooden platform disappeared into darkness. My flashlight trembled. For a brief second, I thought it was empty. Then, a pair of pale white feet stepped into the light. Someone was standing directly above the bell, perfectly still, watching us. The ceiling wasn't high enough for anyone to stand there. Yet, it did. It dropped down. The figure tilted its head. Then, without making a sound, it let go. It didn't fall. It floated, slowly descending through the darkness, until it stopped only a few feet above the bell. Its arms hung unnaturally long. Its face was hidden behind strands of black hair. Samuel raised the wooden cross. "Don't look into its eyes." I lowered my head, but curiosity won. For a split second, I looked. Its eyes weren't white anymore. They were completely black, deep enough to feel endless. At that moment, I heard hundreds of voices whispering inside my mind. "Stay. You belong here. Take the seat." Samuel's confession. Samuel stepped between me and the creature. His voice cracked. "I lied to you." I stared at him. "What?" He didn't look away from the floating figure. "I wasn't just the caretaker. I was the last watchman. I should have died here. 40 years ago." I couldn't believe what I was hearing. Samuel looked exactly 60 years old, not over 100. He continued, "The church never let me leave. It only let me grow old. I've been waiting for someone brave enough to end this. The first name, the creature slowly raised one hand and pointed toward the old church bell. Letters began appearing across the bronze surface, one by one, as if carved by invisible fingers. Ryan Carter. Then, another name appeared beneath it, Samuel Brooks. Below those, hundreds more names. Every watchman, every victim, every person who had accepted the job. The final line remained empty, waiting, as if the church hadn't decided whose name it would carve next. The floating figure smiled, then it whispered, "One of you stays, one of you leaves." The final decision. The creature remained suspended above the bell. Its hollow black eyes never left mine. Neither did Samuel's. For a long moment, no one spoke. Then Samuel quietly said, "Ryan, listen carefully. I've spent 40 years waiting for this night. I won't let it take another innocent life." Before I could answer, he walked toward the edge of the bell tower. Holding the old wooden cross tightly, he smiled. For the first time, he looked at peace. The hidden truth. Samuel took a deep breath. When I accepted this job, I wasn't alone. My younger brother came with me. We both thought it was just an abandoned church. His voice began to shake. He sat in the last pew. Because he was tired. That was the moment. Everything changed. I escaped. He never did. Samuel closed his eyes. I've heard his voice every single night since then. The sacrifice. Without warning, Samuel stepped toward the creature. He raised the wooden cross high above his head, then shouted, "Take me instead!" A blinding white light exploded across the bell tower. The creature screamed, not like a person, like hundreds of voices crying out together. The entire church shook violently. The old bell cracked from top to bottom. Stone fell from the ceiling. The stained glass windows shattered into thousands of pieces. I was thrown to the floor. When the light finally faded, Samuel was gone. Only the broken wooden cross remained. Something was still there. The church became silent, too silent. I slowly stood up. The floating creature had disappeared. The bell tower looked empty. Then, I noticed something. Fresh footprints, one set, leading away from the broken cross. They crossed the wooden floor, toward the staircase, toward the church below. I followed them with my flashlight. Each footprint appeared, one after another, as if someone invisible was still walking. Then, they stopped, right beside me. A freezing breath touched my ear, and a familiar voice whispered, "He only delayed me." The clock stopped. I stumbled down the bell tower stairs. Samuel was gone. The church felt colder than ever. I pulled out my phone. 2:59 a.m. The seconds on the screen stopped moving. I checked my watch. 2:59 a.m. Every clock inside the church had frozen. No ticking, no movement, just endless. 2:59. Outside the stained glass windows, the sky was still completely black. It felt as though time itself had stopped. The church changed. I looked around. The wooden walls no longer looked old. Fresh paint covered every surface. The broken windows were whole again. Candles burned along both sides of the aisle. The church wasn't abandoned anymore. It looked exactly as it must have, decades ago. Then I heard voices, soft conversations, children laughing, people praying. The pews slowly filled with people, dressed in clothes from another era. No one acknowledged me. It was as if I didn't exist. I wasn't seeing ghosts. I was watching the church's past. The first watchman, A man wearing a security uniform walked through the front doors. He looked nervous. A priest handed him a folded sheet of paper, the same paper Samuel had given me. The man unfolded it. I could see the words, 7 rules, exactly the same. Then the priest smiled. "You're the first." The watchman nodded. He had no idea what those words really meant. I watched him walk toward the last pew. The moment he sat down, every candle inside the church went out. His scream echoed through the building. Then the vision vanished. The shadow returned. The church became dark again. The old walls returned. The candles disappeared. My phone screen lit up. The time had changed. 3 a.m. 1 minute had passed. Somewhere behind me, a chair slowly creaked. I already knew which one. The last pew. I didn't turn around. Instead, I heard a slow clap. 1, 2, 3. Then, the deep voice returned. Calm, patient, almost amused. "You've seen how it began. Now you'll see how it ends." The church bell rang again. This time, it didn't stop.